Hey everybody, doing a live stream because earlier today I hit 40,000 subscribers, which is kind of mind-blowing to think about the fact that many people watched one of my videos and went, I like this guy. I want to see more of them, and click that subscribe button. It means the world to me, and it's just kind of surreal, just the growth that my channel has had over the last, basically since Thor Ragnarok came out, the ball started rolling, and then it went bonkers whenever Black Panther came out. And thank you guys so much for making that happen. I actually set a goal for the year 2018. By December 31st, I want to hit 40,000 subscribers. Today is May 20th. We are 7 months ahead of schedule on that one. And that's just crazy that has happened. So I thought, even before I have some other plans, maybe that I'll do this week with some live things and other fun types of events to celebrate hitting 40,000 subscribers. But, I wanted to kick things off even today, doing a live chat. My wife is running the questions and will be sending questions my way. She should be able to respond to some stuff using my name over there so she can chat back and forth with you. We've been having some technical problems with that. My account itself doesn't actually work, so it won't be Sean Chandler Talks About. It'll just be Sean Chandler. If you send any super chats our way, those are questions. We will read what you say on screen and answer your questions, so long as it is not wildly inappropriate or something like that. My wife will be the filter of that, so don't make her mad. Make her a happy person. So with that said, she's raising her hand. If you want to say hello and then kick things off.
Hello. We have a super chat.
We got a super chat to kick things off. All right, what do we got?
Awesome Dude 900 says hello.
Oh, hello, Awesome Dude 900. Thank you so much for kicking us off with that super chat and saying hello. Hello back to you as well. So what do we got?
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food. I generically speaking, I'd probably go Italian. You say spaghetti. Spaghetti is like a safe, like, let's eat this one a lot type food.
Frequency, I would say Italian.
Yeah, frequency.
Like actual favorite, I would say Chinese. No?
Maybe I'd probably go broader Asian.
Yeah.
So I like, as just like a food that we can afford to eat frequently, spaghetti's probably the one that I can almost always go for. If I could afford eating more regularly at home, I would go with like steak, shrimp, seafood type stuff. I can make those for myself.
Like I made for you
my wife made lobster for me one time. If you start going
just once.
Yeah, just once. If you start talking restaurants and stuff that I go out to, then Asian food. So whether you're talking about Chinese food, whether you're talking about sushi, those types of things would be, that's probably the direction that I would go as my answer to your question about my favorite foods.
Lots of people are speculating that you're going to reach 100K by the end of the year.
I like the sound of that. It's possible. It is very possible with... I lost one of my windows. What? My computer's acting funky on me. Am I still going live? There it is. Okay, it came back to me. Sorry about that. Technical problems that you kind of happen when you go live on these deals. At my current trajectory, I think if you look at where I'm at right now and what I've been averaging over the last 3 months since Black Panther came out, it's possible. It's ambitious. I think... I just don't know what's going to happen because things have been so crazy and the snowball's been starting to move so fast over the last few months that I can't really predict the future anymore. And I don't know when I'm going to hit that plateau and it's going to stop. I don't know if once we get past Ant-Man and the Wasp and we have a 6-month gap between when there's another Marvel movie, if some of the potential, my biggest hit content is those Marvel movies. I don't know if when I hit the fall and December, if I'm going to lose some of that momentum until Captain Marvel comes out. I don't know. But it's possible. My current goal right now for December 31st is 75,000, which seemed really ambitious when I picked that one, but 40,000 seemed really ambitious too when I selected that one. So I just don't know. I mean, it's like we're kind of like, wow, what's going on with our life right now that kind of the success going on, because I deliver paint for a living. You know, she runs social media and kind of plans things. Like, we're just like a very normal type family. We went to the pool yesterday, and then like this thing on YouTube's kind of happening that it's very exciting. What do we got next?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Favorite scary movie? I reviewed all these and ranked them, but the Scream movies. That's when you talk about scary movies. The one that kind of immediately comes to mind that I like to watch the most, that kind of has the right kind of sweet spot in my life, would be the Scream movies. And some of that's the first one came out when I was a freshman in high school. So a lot of times we kind of have a nostalgia for the horror movies of our high school years. And for me, that's kind of the case. Is that kind of those, was it Kevin Williamson, those self-referential horror movies that came out in the late 90s? That's kind of were the ones where I kind of was introduced to the genre, because my mom and dad didn't show me horror movies or anything like that. So I kind of had to discover it on my own. And so the Scream movies are the ones that come to mind. I've reviewed all 4 of them on my channel and then did a ranking video about them. My wife wandered off to play with the dog. So... He's eating cardboard. Wow, you guys are present for a very exciting experience as my dog has decided to start eating cardboard for you guys. What do we got next?
What's your favorite popcorn?
Favorite popcorn? What's the one that we always...
Pop Secret Home Style.
Pop Secret Home Style. Like it... I got a little bit famous amongst some of the high schoolers. So I worked with high schoolers for about 10 years in small groups and stuff like that. And so I'd have over to my house... And every time they come over, lots of movie nights. Actually, this past Monday, a couple of the students came back over because we're still buddies with them and everything. So they came over this past Monday. But this guy in particular that came over Monday, he's the one that I brought him up. But at one of these past groups, he was like, "This popcorn is so good. What is this popcorn that you keep making for us?" Like, it's just Pop Secret Home Style. And very specific. I mapped out exactly the number of seconds to cook it. Add extra salt on top of it. Sometimes I add my own special butter on top of it. But it's just the same exact stuff. And people are like, "Wow, this is so good." Like, it's just microwave popcorn.
We've got a lot of people that buy it because of...
Yeah, they like this guy started buying it. Like he was getting mad at his "Dad, what you bought movie style? This is home style. Dad, what do you Act 2? No, don't get Act 2. It has to be this one specific type of popcorn." So my popcorn taste has actually started to spread to the teenagers, or actually they're now 20 somethings in the Austin area of Texas.
You're so old.
Yeah, and influential.
What's your favorite movie to watch with me?
Favorite movie to watch with you? Mm-hmm. Die Hard. Would that be a pretty safe pick? Die Hard would be a safe pick.
We haven't watched it together this year.
Yeah, we didn't. Well, not this year, but we didn't watch it last year. We missed it. It frequently plays at some of the local theaters every December since it's a Christmas movie, and so that's one that she digs. That one, I of course dig that one. So that's an easy one that kind of comes up to mind. What would be some other ones that... Because there's the ones that we watch together that, you put Harry Potter movies on all the time. You put on, While You Were Sleeping or something like that. You put on Sweet Home Alabama.
National Treasure.
But they're not necessarily... they're movies I'm fine with them, but they're not movies that are, sweet spot
that
movies.
We want to watch.
Back when we were dating, The Notebook...
Mm-hmm.
I went to college we both went to college out in Columbia, South Carolina, and not too far away from where we went to college, they filmed some of it. So we'd go out to the Edisto Island where they filmed portions of it for dates. So the Notebook was one that kind of had a little sweet spot in there. So those are ones that kind of come to mind. What's up next?
Do you play Fortnite?
We picked up Fortnite last weekend. Downloaded it for my PlayStation 4. And so I've played just a little bit, and I think I've made it to top 15 at the best as I've done. Then my 6-year-old was like, "Can I play?" And so he plays it. He made it into the top 10. My 6-year-old has done better than me in his first game than I did. Now, he's not good. I don't want to misrepresent that. But sorry about that.
He's good at avoiding other people.
Yeah, he's good at avoiding other people. And he's like, I didn't even know you could build stuff. I didn't know that was a function in the game. So I'm just running around like it's a shooter, shooting people. He starts playing, and he's building buildings and stuff and walls and walling himself in. So he's surviving quite a while. And I'm just killing myself quickly because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm running around with the pickaxe trying to take people out and trying to find Thanos and stuff like that. And even he found Thanos and was able to... I think he even killed Thanos one time. He didn't get the gauntlet because someone killed him before he got to it. But so I have picked it up. I think Kirk Never Died is my username for on all the PlayStation 4 stuff. I think it's Kirk Never Died, one word. I'm also doing a lot of Star Wars Battlefront 2 a lot of these days. And by me, I mean either me or my son. Because right now he's supposed to be sleeping. We might go downstairs and he's playing Battlefront 2 on the internet.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Have you seen Ghost Ship?
I've not seen Ghost Ship.
What is the saddest TV finale you've ever seen? I think I know this one.
Saddest TV finale? What's my...
Oh, I would go with Dexter, hands down. But
because I wouldn't think
disappointing.
I didn't think. Yeah, I wouldn't think that Dexter's the saddest unless you're talking about my
Depressing.
actual level of sadness at like how bad it was and the like how did this show end so badly. Then Dexter immediately comes to mind. But you're talking about just like a sad TV ending. You don't think Dexter because it's not like there were sad things that happened, but
likewise, like The Office was sad, but it was heartwarming, so it wasn't like
it wasn't. It's not that. It's a different type of sad. So a sad TV ending that, like, I could reference some that I know are sad endings, but I don't think of them as my sad ending. I don't know what's one that would be a sad ending for me.
I don't know. That was my best guess.
Yeah, I can't think of one that like I immediately think, oh, I was sad at this ending to the movie. I can't think of one, but just one that made me angry. I was like, that sucked. I am sad now at the suckage. Dexter.
Sorry. Do you like The Greatest Showman? That just popped up. I already answered it, but...
Do I like The Greatest Showman? I thought it was good. Good is the word that I would use. I actually did a review for it, put it on my Patreon page, because I was late. What happened is I filmed a full review for it, and then I lost the file for some reason, and so then I didn't want to go back and do my full process of shooting it, so I just shot like a single take one, put it on my Patreon page. But I thought it was good. The music, of course, is great. I think there's some thematic elements in it that I think could have made for a much better movie. But because they wanted to make an hour and 45 minute long crowd pleaser for all ages, it had to be a certain length of time. You had these musical numbers in it. And so then it just kind of brushed through things like it was montaging a better movie is what it felt like to me. And that's kind of what it was doing because it's a musical and they used music to kind of montage things. And so that was kind of my take on it. It was enjoyable, good, but not as good as it felt like some of the elements could have been.
Would you rank Hitchcock movies?
No. I mean, I don't think I could ever do a proper ranking of Hitchcock movies because he's done too many. There's just so many spanning so many decades, and that people know the ones from like 1955 to 65 or something like that. Like there's this small window of time where he put out all of his classics, but he'd been making movies for 20, 30 years before that. So I could do if to do a ranking of them. We'd have to take like a whole week where we didn't work. We didn't do anything else. We just watched Hitchcock movies. I'd put the ranking up, and the majority of people wouldn't have seen any of the movies. They'd seen like 5 of the movies or something like that. So the video wouldn't even do very well, and it would take me a week to make it. And so maybe I could do like my favorite Hitchcock movies or something like that. But I don't have specific plans to do something like that soon, simply because there's just not like an urgent demand, and it's not one that is stuff that I immediately gravitate towards, and where some of the stuff, obviously, Star Wars movies, Spielberg movies, that's stuff that I always just naturally gravitated towards. Where Hitchcock, it's like, oh, I really like North by Northwest. Oh, Psycho, that was really cool, but it's not like I've got 15 of his movies that just I can't wait to talk about.
Are you hyped for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Absolutely. I loved the first one. Thought it was a ton of fun. A nice... And here's what I think will be really nice about Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is also somewhat what I'm feeling about Solo, is that it feels unpretentious. It doesn't feel like it has the weight of the MCU on its shoulders. It feels like they're just doing a fun movie. Because you look at, obviously, Infinity War. I mean, let's bring all these characters together. Will Thanos kill half the galaxy? That's heavy. You talk about Black Panther, and it's, this movie about kings and families and betrayal and even kind of national politics, racism, all sorts of issues that are really heavy. And both those, I love both those movies. 2 of my top 3 movies of the year this far. Ant-Man and the Wasp just seems like a good, fun Marvel movie. And like sometimes you just want to go back to, yeah, let's just have fun with Paul Rudd cracking jokes, Michael Pena telling wacky stories, Michael Douglas responding to all these wacky characters, and just kind of like this dry, like, no, I could have given you wings, I just didn't. I mean, all that sounds great to me, so I am very pumped for it. And it's a movie I'll probably be able to take my son to, so that's another thing that's exciting. And I tied that back to Solo. I'm starting to get excited about Solo just because I was thinking about it. I was like, if I go into this just as I get a fun Star Wars movie without the weight of the world on its shoulders, I'll have a lot of fun with this, I think. I think I'll really enjoy... I'll probably enjoy this movie more than I enjoyed Last Jedi, is what I'm guessing will happen. Because that movie's so trying to deconstruct the Jedi and subvert our expectations, twists, turns, important reveals, who's going in which direction. That's heavy stuff. Rogue One, I really like Rogue One, but, I mean, it's about... I don't want to spoil the ending, but let's just say a lot of people die in the movie. Solo just seems like it's a fun adventure. And so for the same reason, that's kind of where I'm kind of playing. Anyway, I'm spoiling a few things. I've got some videos coming out in the next couple of days so on Solo, so I probably shouldn't have said too much. But yes, I'm excited about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Super chat from JD Regalato.
Thank you, JD Regalato.
What superheroes do you want to be added in the MCU?
What superheroes do I want added in the MCU? I mean, the obvious ones is what I want. I want a hard reboot of X-Men brought into the MCU as Phase 4. Like, hard reboot, not Daredevil, but Deadpool. Like, he's the exception. Just, like, have him as this offshoot thing that's kind of tied into it because he can break the fourth wall. It's okay. But hard reboot, bring the X-Men in, and fresh new continuity. Dark Phoenix ends it. I don't know what they're going to do with mutants next year. Hard reboot, Phase 4, X-Men, and the other obvious one, Fantastic Four, Kevin Feige, let him do it right. I don't know, maybe people have been saying get John Krasinski to direct it and star in it. Maybe that's a direction to go with it. I mean, obviously did a great job with A Quiet Place and has a great history of fun and comedy from some TV show that we used to watch that he was in. And by we used to watch, I mean we watched it 2 days ago, The Office. So maybe there's my pitch for what I want to be brought into the MCU. I don't think I have any deep cuts. And I'm even fine with the Marvel Netflix stuff staying on Marvel Netflix because I like what they're doing with it in theory. There's been some weak seasons, but in theory. So those two are where I think, how do you take the MCU to the next level, take these properties that it looks like they're acquiring, make that Phase 4. And that's a nice follow-up to Thanos that's a different direction. I love that idea. Of course, it was my idea. That was so pat myself on the back.
You don't actually have to answer this right now, but we got another request for you to rank Black Widow hairstyles.
Yeah, I keep all these Black Widow hairstyles. When we get into June and there's not as many of the last, we had Infinity War, this week a Deadpool, we got Star Wars coming out. We hit June and it slows down. I don't have as many of those big franchises to do all these big videos and will it suck and will it be awesome and rankings. I think in June, I might even do some of these wackier ones you guys keep asking me to do for the MCU. So Black Widow might get it. I'm just so nervous because there's people that are in on the joke that'll be like, this is amazing. It'll be fun and funny. And then there's people who'll be like, have you lost your mind? Like, what happened to Sean that he did this? I don't know. We'll find out.
Do you have thoughts on, I think it's Netflix, it might be Amazon, I'm sorry, I lost the question, Middle Earth series?
Yeah, so it's Amazon. They're... have $1 billion budgeted to do a Lord of the Rings prequel series. And what do I think about it? It feels a lot like Amazon Prime is trying to get their name on the map. They're trying to find a big franchise, put a bunch of money towards it that just puts them gigantic on the screen. Everyone's talking about what they're doing. Because they've had series that have been successful. They had some things that they've gotten some traction, but they haven't had like a wow type thing. And so they're looking for what can you do that with? Lord of the Rings. Or we'll put a bunch of money into Lord of the Rings. I just don't know. I have to know more about what they're trying to do. But like the idea of, I get so nervous when you start talking about fantasy like that in the post Game of Thrones era, where everything has to be a little bit cynical, mean-spirited, all the characters are jerks, And I just get nervous that they're going to try in Game of Thrones, Middle Earth, and Tolkien, which sounds dreadful. I mean, it just sounds like an abomination to do that to the works of Lord of the Rings. That, like, the worldview is different. There's fundamentally different worldviews that kind of drive the two things. So I get nervous about things like that. But without knowing more, without seeing something, it's tough to say much more than just, that's interesting that they're doing that. It feels like they're trying to make a name for themselves. This will get people talking. We're talking about it right now, and we haven't even seen anything. But I just don't know.
Oh, sorry. Why did you start your YouTube channel?
Why did I start my YouTube channel? Because everyone around me was tired of me talking about movies with them. So for me, why did I start my YouTube? It's kind of true. So I mean, it really does kind of go back to summer 2011. And I have interns. Like, I'm doing interns for the prop. Like, I had interns with my old job. And I would just sit down and I would, like, start giving little mini talks on John Williams scores and stuff. Like, they're
lectures.
like little lectures. It was kind of a joke that I would do things like this. And I would just do movie nights. They'd come over and we'd have people over and we'd do movie nights and things like that. And when you just gravitate towards wanting to do things like that, I have interns. I can say whatever I want to them. I'll talk about movies. That says something about your personality and what you naturally want to do. And in my previous life, I did lots of public speaking, so I know I can talk to cameras. I've done video announcement type things, so I know I've done this type of talking head video before. So I don't know that. And going all the way back to the 90s, I had a Jackie Chan fan webpage that I put up. I had like a Star Wars-y AOL members website that I had up. And I've always been the guy, whether it was on IMD message boards before those were deleted for 15 years, I was commenting on their message boards there, commenting on the comment section on Collider.com, commenting on YouTube videos, my dog appearing in the lower corner of the video. I've always been the person commenting. And so I just had the thought, this is what I'm passionate about. I know I can talk on camera. I know I can edit video. Why don't I just give it a try? I had several false starts. And I also had some movie blog stuff that I did, a thing called The Non-Essentials for a little bit. And I think 2013, 5 years ago, I think May, it was when I first did experimenting with this. And you can still see the videos. They're on my channel, and sometimes I post them in my feed, repost them and stuff like that. But Star Trek Into Darkness, not Catch Me, that's totally different. What You See, what's the magic one? So I reviewed a couple of those movies, and then I had a 6-month gap. Then reviewed a couple more movies. Year-long gap. Reviewed a couple more movies. It didn't stick, and but I always wanted to. And I had too much stress, too busy with the previous job that I had, that I couldn't get the traction doing it. So then I found myself unemployed. Summer 2016. A lot of free time on my hand. Went to go see Ghostbusters, and I don't remember why.
Now You See Me?
Now You See Me, yeah. So Now You See Me, I decided a press screening, so I put a video up for that one way back in the day, whenever it came out. But I didn't have a job, and we went to see Ghostbusters, and I was like, hey, I have that YouTube channel, that thing that's got 7 videos on it, 8 videos on it. What if I did a review for it? And actually, right over there is where I filmed it, in this room that has now been converted into an actual studio. But woohoo, we have an office. But yeah, I don't remember why. There's no there wasn't like a wow, like this is gonna change my life. It was just, I have the free time to do this, and so I did, and I just used the webcam built into my laptop right here for the video, and shot on a card table right over there, no proper lighting or anything like that, and just started, because it's just what I enjoy doing. It was my hobby, and then that hobby had a little bit of success and a little bit more success, and then over the last 6 months, it's turned into quite a bit of success. And we're thinking about, is this my career? Is this where things are headed? So anyway, that's a long answer to your question. Sorry about that.
Super chat from David.
Super chat from David. Thank you.
What's the movie that you hate the most?
Movie I hate the most is Alien 3. No question. That's been my broad answer for about 15 years now. Aliens is one of my favorite movies. And it's not that Alien 3 is the worst made movie ever. But it's a movie that makes a mistake that's one of the things I hate the most when movies do, which is an inferior sequel comes out, and just between movies, they just undo the end of the previous movie. So just something terrible happens. And that's essentially what happens between Aliens and Aliens 3. Aliens ends with this big victorious time of Ripley goes to great lengths to try and do certain things happen, saves the day, happy ending, and then by the time the credits are over on Alien 3, it's undone all of that. And I just despise the movie for doing that. And like there's some exciting things in it. There's some moments that are okay in it, but just inherently, it makes Aliens a worse movie for me. And therefore, my response to it is I hate this thing, and I think it's apocryphal. That's when they were talking about Blumkamp doing his own stuff that would ignore 3 and Resurrection. I was all on board with it because that's what I do anyway. I ignore the fact that 3 and Resurrection are continuity.
What is the TV series you're disappointed was cut?
Canceled?
Yes. Sorry.
I don't know. I feel like we get this one asked every time, but I don't feel like I ever have a good answer for it. Because like I'm disappointed that Firefly was canceled.
Oh, I think they mean now.
Or right now? Oh, Designated Survivor then. Designated Survivor is one we've been watching and got canceled this past week. And so then we, as longtime 24 fans, Kiefer Sutherland fans, this is kind of like a new take. A lot of the same ingredients as 24, but a very different type of spin with the West Wing thrown into the mix. So we've really been enjoying it. It's one of the shows that we watch every single week as it comes out. I mean, it's one of the few shows we really keep up with every single week and both of us enjoy. And then we found out it was canceled. And not even because of low ratings. I mean, it was like all because of just weird stuff behind the scenes, which makes it even more frustrating.
Plot twist coming.
Yeah, and there are all sorts of they just ended the last episode with this big whoa, where's this going? And there's one more episode in the series or something like that. So that's just very disappointed in that entirely. Everything about it. I actually was talking about this on my Patreon live stream earlier today. I hate it that that's how TV's done. That they don't have a better system that thinks about the fans. It's not designed in a way that when a show, look, we're going to cancel a show, but we're going to give them 4 more episodes. We're going to give them a TV movie. And these episodes are they're going to have a lower budget, and they're only going to be on our streaming site or something. There's options that you can do in the year 2018 where you can give a proper conclusion to shows that's not just like middle fingers to the audience. Like, oh, you love Designated Survivor for 2 years? Oh, they were working towards this big plot twist in a new direction? Sorry, it's just done. I hate that that's the way the studios work. What do we got?
Super chat from Ryan O'Toole.
Super chat from Ryan O'Toole. All right. She's got a big grin, so this should be interesting.
He just says, happy for all your... Okay, talk. Happy for all your success, man.
Oh, thank you so much, Ryan. I very much appreciate that. And it's been crazy. Things have been good. And remind me when I'm supposed to have that video to you. Him and I are doing a collaboration in the near future, and I have a deadline for I'm supposed to get a video to you. So let me know what that deadline is.
I answered this question in the comments, but I'm curious what yours is. Do you think the Die Hard sequels ruin the original?
Do I think the Die Hard sequels ruin the original? Not at all. I think the stories are separate enough. And the point in time where it goes just off the rails is so separate that it doesn't... It's not like with Alien 3... There's plot points in it that make you go, oh, why would you do that? There's nothing in whatever the 5th one is called. I mean, I think I've seen it 1 or 2 times. The second time was only for this channel. Like I would never just choose to watch it again. It's just a bad movie. It's just a totally bland movie is what it is. It doesn't have a plot point that makes you go, oh crap, this has ruined anything. It's just like, I want to forget that. And then I like the other 4. Like I understand why some people don't like the 4th one and where it kind of went and how ridiculous it got. That never bothered me for whatever reason. That wasn't I never had issues with that because I just thought it was a fun action movie. Not necessarily a great Die Hard movie, but a fun action movie that it didn't bother me. In which case, for me, the Die Hard movies the original's not affected at all by how wacky things eventually got. The one they keep talking about doing a new one that's a prequel that will have Bruce Willis, like one of these bookend type deals where it's doing the flashback, and they do a prequel where they kind of tell the origin story of John McClane. That crap will ruin the original for me. That's the sort of crap that I mean, that's just an abomination of an idea to tell the origin story of John McClane, because the origin story of John McClane is called Die Hard. That's what it is. That he's a normal cop that gets put in a situation. That's the premise of the movie. Not that he's this awesome cop that's had 50 great adventures before this. So that's kind of my take on it. And I guess there is a prequel to Die Hard that stars Frank Sinatra that came out 10 years beforehand. Because you haven't heard of this? Die Hard is based off of a book. And the book is a sequel to another book. That book was converted into a movie back in the late 70s starring Frank Sinatra. And then in the mid-80s, they were looking to do a sequel to Commando. And the sequel to Commando was going to be Die Hard. They're like, let's convert this book as a sequel to Commando. And then it fell through. They're like, we're not going to do the sequel to Commando. I'm telling all this to you, not to them.
I know.
And so then, people being mean in this chat room?
They're being nice to you.
Oh, okay. So then instead of doing Commando 2, they did this other, like, all right, I guess we'll just make some sort of action movie out of it called Die Hard. And then we got Die Hard out of it, that's an incredible story of, like, the weird backstory of where Die Hard came from. I love stuff like that, which is why I'm rambling about it right now, even though no one asked me.
Who's your superhero crush?
Superhero crush? Mm-hmm. Who are the superheroes right now? I guess it's all.
They didn't rank all of, or they didn't list it. I mean, Wonder Woman, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch.
I think we go Scarlet Witch right now.
Good call.
Scarlet Witch right now is the one we go with.
It's a good call. I approve.
Okay, that's good. I didn't. It's if I'd gone with one of the other ones, you did like wouldn't have approved, or you just into her.
I just agree.
Okay, okay, we're in agreement.
Yes.
Scarlet Witch.
Did you have a favorite quote from Infinity War?
Favorite quote from Infinity War? Why is Gamora or you can't see me?
Yeah, I did. That was mine. I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still that I become invisible to the eye. Watch.
3 days ago, Marvel put out on like all their social media accounts this picture. And the caption says, "Can you spot Drax in this picture?" And it's a picture of him eating the chip. And so the comments on that were pretty amazing.
Yeah, lots of Why is Gamora fans. I don't know if you've watched enough. Do you have a favorite character on Game of Thrones?
I haven't watched enough consistently enough to have that. Yeah, I watched it we watched a chunk of it 4 years ago or something like that, and then I've seen sporadically over time. The part of the reason I haven't watched enough of it is that the inherent nature of Game of Thrones is like everyone's a jerk and immoral, and so they're not like you could say like Peter Dinklage because he's Peter Dinklage and you just like him because his attitude and all that stuff. But beyond that, it's like a bunch of jerks. So it's a little bit tough, and I haven't seen enough of it to get a good momentum to have pick a favorite.
What movie do you wish you could get a refund on?
Movie I wish I could get a refund.
Get your money back for paying.
Do you have any guesses for that?
I mean, I think anything you would really want your money back on, we already walked out of. So.
But I could say there's not something for me because I'm not wired like that. Like even a bad movie, I don't mind that I watched it. Even like so we walked out of Crank, but I rewatched it later on. And I walked out of American Psycho when I first saw it. I took a girl on a date to go see American Psycho.
You just made your camera shake. Be careful.
Excuse me. Oh, yeah, I know. I hit when I hit the table, yeah. I'm watching myself right here, the live version. Now, you guys are like a 20-second delay. So I took a girl on a date to go see American Psycho, which is, especially a girl you met at church, not the best movie. It's a good date night for girl from church. So I walked out of that one. But I watched it later on. And so I just don't... I don't think I'm just not wired in a way to even think like that. Because I watched 107 new movies last year. And so I saw a lot of mediocre crap. But none of it really bothered me. I just don't, I'm not wired in a way to be like, I want my money back for this. I feel like someone put work forth and it gave me something for 2 hours. So you didn't. That's kind of the way I'm wired, and like her and I have these debates as to the ethics and morality of returning books on Audible that you've listened to, where she apparently returns Audible books. I didn't even know that was a thing. Totally. Like I didn't know it was a thing at all, and so I bought so many books and listened to a whole kinds of thoughts on all of them. She's like, "Oh yeah, I return books all the time. If I don't like a book, I just send it back. That's their policy." And I feel immoral about doing that. I did that with one, but I didn't finish it. Like I was like, "Oh, this is so bad." Artemis, from Andy Weir, I think the guy that did The Martian, did this book Artemis that I just thought was dreadful. And then I had a friend over, and he agreed with me, so I felt redeemed. Rosario Dawson performs the book too, so it hurt my feelings. Anyway, I'm on a rabbit trail.
You are. Someone, I think, wants you to elaborate on you not liking Crank.
We said we walked out of Crank. I watched it later on.
I'm asking you to clarify.
It's just we went on it with a date. I was in Bible college at the time, so it was kind of a weird Actually, I wasn't supposed to see rated R movies at all at the time, and so it was just like a weird kind of phase in life type of weird date movie. It's not like we'd been dating for 10 years like I had now, so it was just like went to go see it and just this very hard R. I guess we went into it thinking it's the Transporter is basically what we thought. We went in thinking, oh yeah, the Transporter, but a little bit more intense, and it's not. It's Grand Theft Auto. Hopped up on Crank. It's Grand Theft Auto on Crank, and it's just not what we were thinking we were going to go see. So we left. I don't know, 40 minutes into it or something like that. But I watched it later on. I don't think I've watched the second one, but I would. I don't have strong feelings about the movies in and of themselves, but as a date for my wife at that phase in my life, not a great choice.
I wouldn't go on a date to see it with you now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but she's not like, she's more of an ethical, moral person than I am. I have like no moral comes like, oh, Grand Theft Auto is a movie. That sounds amazing. I mean, that's just me, but what do we got next?
Sorry. Super chat.
Super chat, thank you.
Vincent La from Boise. I have no idea, sorry.
Vincent from Boise, thank you.
Hi, Sean. Big fan. I watch your videos almost every day.
Awesome.
Which movie do you like that most critics dislike? Kind of like your guilty pleasure.
Yeah, so so I don't feel guilty about any type of movie that I like, and just in general don't think that people should feel guilty about liking things unless it's something against your moral code or something like that, or if it's 50 Shades of Grey. But unless that, I don't think you should feel guilty. But to the question, which ones do I really like that critics don't like? Some of the obvious ones would be a lot of the 90s action stuff. I love the Van Damme movies, love the Seagal movies, and a number of the other guys that kind of came out at the time period that didn't become as popular as them. I love that. Oh, hey, Doggy Bo. I love that stuff.
It's raining. He's freaking out.
Oh, it's right. Okay. Hey, buddy. Sorry about that. I enjoy a lot of movies like that. Batman v Superman is a movie that I enjoy quite a bit for something more recent, and the more I watch it, the more I kind of respect what they were trying to do. It has its problems. It has its issues. So if someone says they didn't like it, they don't like the direction, some of the issues, I get that. But it's a movie I can respect quite a bit for a movie that was trying to do something, and it not just kind of like Justice League. It was part of the reason I didn't like Justice League is it was just so streamlined after doing something so ambitious with Batman v Superman. So that one kind of comes to mind. Where's someone that you think of that like generally people...
Well, someone posted, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa." So I was thinking of The Room.
Yeah, so I wouldn't put The Room in that category because it's a different type of. And critics love it now for different reasons, but it's actually it's as a quick offshoot. If you want to understand my rating system, where I have the letter and I have the number, The Room is the perfect illustration of it because it's a movie that's an F10. And that's why I was like, I don't feel like just a letter or just a number does it justice. Because a movie can be both awful and awesome at the same time. That's my rating system. That's where The Room came from. That's where somewhat movies like The Room are why I came up with the 2-letter system that I do in my movie reviews. I think action movies, those are the ones that immediately kind of come to mind on some of this.
Super chat from K.O. Rourke 94.
Thank you.
Thoughts on Bullseye being in season 3 of Daredevil, and do you think Karen will die?
Oh, that's sad. You're trying to depress me. Okay, couple different thoughts on there. So, Super Chat, thank you so much for that. On Daredevil Season 3, I love talking Daredevil Season 3. So, they announced it, and they cast a guy from the show Heart of Dixie, which is one of her shows, your shows. You watch Heart of Dixie.
I did.
And so I've seen quite a bit of Heart of Dixie. They cast, was the neighbor, is that what he was?
Yeah.
And so this show is apparently like cranking out guys on superhero shows because Cress, is that the character?
What?
Black Lightning.
Yes, he was on it too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was Cress his name? Was that the actor?
Levon
is okay.
Levon James.
And so the character on Heart of Dixie is the star of Black Lightning, and then now they cast other guys in Daredevil as Bullseye. I'm totally on board with it. He's obviously a Daredevil main villain guy. Love to see actors that are from a show that are one of our things that we know about, but most people don't know that getting success on a show that I do care about, people do pay attention to. So that's pretty cool to me. So I'm just on board with it. I'd have to see some of the character art, what they're going to do with it. But I've loved what they've done in season 1 and 2, so I trust the creative team. So I'm just totally on board with it. Do I think Karen will die? I sure hope not. I don't want Karen to die. Like, it seems like something they would do, but I don't have.
Gotten pretty close a few times.
Yeah.
Backed off.
So I don't know. What do we got?
Super chat from Rich Reviews.
Super chat from Rich Reviews. Thank you, buddy.
Thoughts on the Magnum PI reboot sans Tom Selleck?
It seems. It just seems like a terrible idea to me. Doing a Magnum PI is so tied to Tom Selleck, and it's such a piece of 80s nostalgia, and so doing a reboot is just a nostalgia play is what it is, because 25-year-old millennials aren't like, oh, Magnum PI, that was a great concept for a show. They just know Tom Selleck with a killer mustache, Hawaiian shirts. Like that's all Magnum PI is to people. And so then they put out like the press photo of the guy. I don't know what they put out actually. I just saw this one picture of the guy that it's not like Tom Selleck, no mustache or anything like that. It's just random current actor guy that's up and coming or whatever. So it just seems like a dreadful idea for a show to me. And they seem to be doing this. They did MacGyver a couple years back, and so I watched the first few episodes of that, and I was like, it doesn't feel like MacGyver. It doesn't have the central ideas of MacGyver on this show. It's all this other modern stuff, and they're just using MacGyver as a branding, marketing tool to get people to watch it, which it worked to get me to watch the first episode, but it doesn't. It's a strange marketing technique to take something so 80s and try and market it to people under 40. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I do not understand the idea of a Magnum PI reboot without Tom Selleck, or one with Tom Selleck, but I don't get it at all.
Do you like Westworld?
Yeah, we watch Westworld. That's one of our, I guess right now the two adult type shows we watch are Designated Survivor and Westworld. So we actually signed up for HBO Now just because of Westworld kicking off. So that was the only reason we're like, oh, Westworld's starting back up. Let's I guess we'll get this HBO subscription now. So yeah, we dig it. I'm coming around to season 2. I was pretty nervous at the end of season 1 with where they left things. I was like, what? What are you going to do with this? What are you going to do now? Because it was just such a turn the whole thing upside down. And the first couple episodes of the season, I was like, I don't know that I like what you're doing with this. And I think in the last 2 episodes, it was like, oh, okay, okay, I see what you're doing. And there's all sorts of thoughts in my mind of, is this going to be the twist at the end? Is this where things are going? And I've gotten a lot more excited after a couple episodes of this season. So yeah, we've done Westworld.
They're playing the long game.
Yeah, they're playing the long game, and that's what they did before. But when you're going into the new long game after such a big turning things around at the end of that season, it was like, what is this show if you just did that?
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Beetlejuice 2? Is it still happening?
Beetlejuice 2 falls in that same category as Bill and Ted 3, Rambo 5, Lethal Weapon 5. Just these kind of 30-year too late, 25-year too late sequels that we keep talking about every... Beverly Hills Cop 4, that we just talk about every 6 months. One of the actors, one of the writers, someone says, we're working on it. We got this thing in the works. And do I think it'll ever happen? No. Do I think something will ever happen with Beetlejuice? Yes. Do I think Michael Keaton, at 70 years old, is going to reteam with Tim Burton, who's 65 years old, to do another Beetlejuice movie? No, I don't know why they would do that, because it's the type of movie that's not, the odds of it being good are so low. Those types of delayed sequels to comedies have an amazingly bad track record. So I can't imagine it being good, and Tim Burton and Michael Keaton kind of know that. I think Michael Keaton seems to be, he plays his career pretty well. He not everything he's done has been great, but he hasn't really embarrassed himself too much either. And so I don't see him right now where he's kind of at a point in time where he's getting so close to getting Oscars, being like, yeah, let's put the makeup back on and start talking in a funny voice. I don't see that happening.
Best trilogy, Lord of the Rings or Toy Story?
Between Lord of the Rings and Toy Story, which is the better trilogy? I would go Toy Story. And I've said it many times. I'm just not a Lord of the Rings person. And I don't hate it. I'm not going to knock it. I'm not anything like that. That's not, when I say I'm not a big fan, that's all I mean. It's not the thing that for me has been like, yeah, this is so special. And so it just doesn't have as much of a kind of place in my heart. Toy Story also is, the first one came out when I was in the 8th grade, I believe. And so kind of on that upper end of those types of movies. The third one came out when I was almost 30 years old. And so, by then it wasn't exact. I think we went to go see with our nieces and nephews, I believe.
Wait, which one?
Toy Story 3.
Our whole family. It was my family. It was everybody.
Yeah, everybody went to go see it. It's a big family event. So let's call that one. But neither one of them are ones when you talk about personally affected me, trilogies I just love that just stay with me. I mean, neither one of those ones are ones that are kind of like that for me. But I fully respect both of them.
Have you seen The Shallows yet?
I have not seen The Shallows.
I didn't think so. Someone suggests you do a review on it since I like shark movies.
One of these days I need to do a shark top 5, something like that.
Or the wife's favorite.
Yeah, the wife picks shark movies for me to rank. The wife picks shark movies for me to talk about. And then I'm like, this one's crap. Why does she like this garbage? At least you didn't like Deep Blue Sea 2. That's the most important thing. We watched Deep Blue Sea 2 and she's like, this is terrible. This setup back here, is I didn't even notice it. I didn't even mean to do this. It's much better setup than I thought because it's like words on the outside are on top and these ones are on the bottom. Two
yeah, you did a good job.
Shark ones, totally on accident.
Okay,
and then two villain posters. This is a nice. I need to remember this one.
Okay, we need to watch The Shallows.
Okay, it's the director that's a pretty cool director. He hasn't done a big hit thing, but he's got a nice little style. He did 10,000 of those Liam Neeson movies. He did Unknown, Unstoppable, and then The Commuter. And then The Shallows in there too.
Did you watch, I can't find it. It was a superhero movie, Captain Ultra, or does that sound like a real thing?
Ultraman?
Ultraman. Did you watch Ultraman?
I have 2 Ultraman stories of sorts. One of the, and neither one of them are particularly good, but you asked. So Ultraman is actually a character in Ready Player One, the book. He's not in the movie, which is disappointing.
That's why.
It's real disappointing that he wasn't in there because it was like a major point in the book. It's a plot point about this capsule, and someone turns into one of the 2 brothers, Asian brothers, turns into Ultraman, and it's not in the movie, which is very disappointing. So, in the 90s, when all of the Power Rangers explosion happened, a ton of knockoffs of Power Rangers came out, and they were just kind of looking for any of these things were taking from Asian TV shows that they can convert over to the US. And Ultraman had a version of them. And it aired at 6 a.m. some day of the week, and I would wake up at 6 a.m. and I would watch these repackaged versions of this Asian show about aliens coming and then this doctor converting into Ultraman. I don't remember. This was a long time ago. And so I watched that way back in the day. And it's one of those shows I've tried to find which version of it did I see because I don't know. And I can't even figure out what was aired in the U.S. or anything. I haven't found something that was very definitive. I just have these distinct memories of watching Ultraman fight. That's story number 1. Story number 2 is when I was in the 5th grade, my family went to Hong Kong for a week for our spring break vacation. Because before I was born, my parents and my sister lived in Hong Kong for a while. My dad did business there, had a bunch of friends there. So we went on vacation to Hong Kong. And so while I was there, that was one of the shows that was on TV. And then in the markets and everything that have Ultraman toys. So I bought some Ultraman toys from Hong Kong that I had. And I bought a Game Boy there and some bootlegged games. And so I had some bootlegged, my Game Boy that I had growing up was a bootlegged, with bootlegged games from Hong Kong. There you go. There's my Ultraman story. What do we got?
Super chat from Rich Reviews.
Super chat from Rich Reviews. What do we got?
Thoughts on Brooklyn Nine-Nine moving to NBC and Fox bringing back Last Man Standing?
I haven't. You've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine a little bit. I've never seen an episode of it, and I've never seen an episode of Last Man Standing either. To the question of what do I think about their shows swapping channels, everything. I think it's bizarre that we live in a day and age where every time a show's canceled, there's this question: hey, will this network pick it up? Will Hulu pick it up? Will Netflix pick it up? Will they? Like, I think it's both great and bizarre that we live in a time where things like that are so common for different things to be picked up by different channels and everything like that. I think it's weird that they're getting swapped amongst the big three or big four. That's weird to me. That I would think that it would go to Hulu, it would go to Netflix, someone outside of these other ones, but that they're being swapped up here at the top seemed really odd to me. And so I don't have too many big thoughts on it other than it's a strange time in television where things like this keep being a regular occurrence of different things being picked up. But, that's the era of TV. And even, Last Man Standing getting canceled was just kind of a controversy in and of itself because the canceling seemed to be more about Tim Allen than about ratings and money. So it's an odd time.
Would you like to see Tom Hiddleston play young Palpatine in the spinoff of Palpatine and Plagueis?
Plagueis. That's what you're asking about.
Star Wars.
So we watched Revenge of the Sith today, earlier today, and that scene was where they're at the opera deal. And you're like, is he talking about Vader? Like, no, it's Plagueis. Do I want to see Tom Hiddleston as young Palpatine in a Plagueis movie? Not at all. I don't want to see. I do not want to spin off like that.
Are you over Tom Hiddleston?
I'm not over Tom Hiddleston. I've seen him in two things. I've seen a ton of him as Loki, but I've seen him as Loki and I've seen him in Kong. And so it feels like I need to see. It seems like we can get more Tom Hiddleston. There's, I'd be fine with more of him, but the idea of seeing too much of Palpatine, I think if we get any more than what we got right now, it just cheapens the character. It just takes away stuff that the mystery of the allure of kind of where he came from. Like, you could tell a movie and that'd be like maybe like some flashbacks, some hints of something like that. But an actual movie where we're sitting there watching Palpatine for a full movie, it has the problem right off the bat of you're watching villains be villains. So who's the protagonist? Because we're not really wanting to root for a really bad guy to become like that's tricky in and of itself. But just those types of sequels that are answering questions I'm not asking and giving answers I don't really want. I'm going to use that language again in tomorrow in a video that I'm doing. You'll see where some of this is going. But I'm very nervous about a lot of the Star Wars prequel stuff they're doing. Like, let's do a Lando movie. A Lando movie? Why would we do a Lando movie? He's a great side character, but a lead character? I just don't know about that. Or like, let's learn about young Yoda. Young Yoda? What are we going to learn about young Yoda? The mystery is kind of what makes him interesting.
Did you watch the Tremors trailer?
No, I haven't actually watched it. It's the sort of thing that I think would just either I'd watch it and I'd be like, oh, that's disappointing. That's kind of embarrassing for Kevin Bacon. Or I'd watch it and be like, oh, I want to see that. Why doesn't this exist? And so I didn't watch it just because its existence seems like something that would just kind of annoy me.
Hold on. I'm sorry. There was one I had ready and I've lost it. Well, this is one. How long have you been streaming? Because I can't see the countdown. Someone else asked.
I have been streaming for 53 minutes and 4 seconds.
Okay. A super chat from Eric Hoffer.
Thank you.
I don't have a question. I just want to say I love your channel and all the hard work you've put in.
Oh, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And that's one of the things I try to do with my channel is be as hardworking as I can. And hardworking and smart working. Just really think through in advance. Listen in the comments section. Pay attention to what you guys are saying. Be as interactive as possible and put the best effort in to make the best channel that I can. And so I just hope that comes out on screen. And, I have limited resources. I'm not the handiest person. And Some of even some of this, there's actual tape on these shelves behind me, and I painted this wall myself. I'm shooting on a webcam. Like, there's a lot of limitations on what I'm trying to do, and I don't know much design. All I know, and I like Edison bulbs and things like that. And so I like it. I want people to bring the best that I can bring to the table, and some of that's just through working hard, and hopefully that comes out on the screen.
What's your favorite rom-com?
Favorite rom-com?
13 Going on 30?
I mean, 13 Going on 30, While You Were Sleeping, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I might as well throw Sweet Home Alabama. I mean, kind of all of those ones that just kind of have those A-listers at the peak of their youthful charm, teamed up with another youthful person at the peak of their charm, and they're all formulaic, but they've got a nice little hook in there. There's the central premise to it is a little bit interesting. 10 Things I Hate About You, just a central hook to them with a cast that's charming. There's normally some element that you're finding someone like right before they really break and become famous. A lot of time, like with Sandra Bullock with While You Were Sleeping.
So good.
It was like she'd just done Speed. It was like her first starring role. And you had John Turteltaub, the guy that went on to do the National Treasure movies and several other kind of big blockbusters, like real good director. And he's this rom-com. It just feels kind of special. Are you talking about 10 Things I Hate About You, a movie that has a young Heath Ledger, young Julia Stiles, young Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and they were like the stars in it, but like some of the appeal was some of these other actors that were on other teeny TV shows at the time. And so there's just something special about some of those ones. Those are the ones that come to mind as favorites.
Do you like Mission? What are your thoughts on Mission Impossible movies?
I love them. Or I love 4 of them.
What's the one you don't love?
The same one as everyone else. Number 2. I think 1, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 3, 4, and 5 are all great. I mean, just great. Slight differences, variations of what they were trying to do with them. I think it was great that they did that. I mean, really, the biggest thing I'm nervous about with this newest one is they didn't change directors. And changing directors has been one of the things that's been great about the formula thus far. Did you notice, you probably didn't pick up on this, the love interest in Mission Impossible 2, that's the girl that in Westworld, the one that became aware and was searching for her daughter. She's from Mission Impossible 2. But, and then I guess I do love Mission Impossible 2 because it's the reason that Hugh Jackman became famous, is because of Mission Impossible 2, because Dougray Scott was supposed to be Wolverine. He was cast as Wolverine. And then Mission Impossible 2 was delayed on shooting. And so
I totally knew that was her.
Dougray Scott couldn't do Wolverine, so he got kicked out of X-Men. And so this guy from musical theater from Australia named Hugh Jackman that no one had ever heard of gets cast as Wolverine, and now we have The Greatest Showman, to tie it back to an earlier question.
Do you have a favorite Spider-Man director?
I guess we only have 3. I mean, I'd go Raimi. I mean, yeah, Raimi. I think he's the one that's brought the most him to it. The Raimi Spider-Man movies feel like Raimi Spider-Man movies. They are very distinctly Sam Raimi films. The Mark Webb Amazing Spider-Man movies feel like Mark Webb did the interactions between Peter and Gwen, and the rest of the movie was directed by committee, with just producers trying to control what could happen. But these scenes between these two characters feel like distinctly his type of stuff. And then Homecoming feels like a MCU movie. I don't know the director's other work, but it doesn't feel like this guy brought... Very sorry, about an hour before I started going live, I'd had this tickle in my throat and it hasn't gone away. Like, you feel Taika Waititi on Ragnarok. You feel James Gunn on his movies, Guardians movies. I don't feel a distinct director for the most part on Spider-Man Homecoming. So I'd have to go with Sam Raimi, that it's just at least 2 great ones with a distinct director's touch on them.
Rich Reviews Super Chat.
Thank you.
Thoughts on the Chicago South Side preacher at the royal wedding?
We didn't watch the royal wedding, and so it was...
Scandal.
It's not something like I don't even know why that would be that a grown man in his mid-30s in Central Texas didn't watch the royal wedding. Like it wasn't something that just immediately I would gravitate towards or be particularly interested in naturally. So I didn't watch it. I saw on Twitter a bunch of people talking about it. I think he's the guy that they were very excited about, but I didn't entirely understand what their comments were about some of the stuff. So I don't have thoughts on it because I didn't watch it. So I don't even know what there would be to have thoughts on because I just don't have much of any interest in the royal wedding at all.
Have you ranked the MCU teaser trailers?
Mm-mm. So people would ask me to rank the MCU trailers for a while, and that's my question has always been, which one? Like, do I only rank the first trailers? Is that what I have to do? And just even trying to come up with the ones to do for it seems like it would be a little bit tricky. And trailers are difficult to rank now because I've seen the movie. And so I'm not giving my impression of how did this trailer make me feel as I watched it. As I don't have any knowledge on some of this stuff, as this is the thing that's introducing me to this. I've already seen the movie, and so it's hard to get back to what did I feel like. All I know is I remember when I first saw the trailer for the Avengers, the teaser trailer for it. I didn't think it was very good. The one for the Avengers. I've said many times the Avengers is one of my top 3 favorite Marvel movies. I didn't think the trailer was great. So if I rank the trailer now, am I trying to rate it based off of what I'm seeing now, which I have existing knowledge, or trying to remember what... That's why I haven't ranked the trailers, because it seems like one that would be hard to have good, meaningful, intelligent things to say that would spark a discussion that could be coherent.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be? Consuming all the Dr. Pepper in the world.
Without diabetes. Flight seems pretty cool. That would be one that doesn't lead to problems. Because if you got super strength, that can lead to problems. I'd love to have super strength, but I don't want to always have super strength because then you have to learn to not have super strength. So you have to put an enormous amount of thought into how to not crush someone when you give them a hug or shake their hand. Reading minds would be horrible. You would ruin your life if you could read people's minds. You do not want to be able to read people's minds.
What if you could influence their minds?
That would we influence minds.
Evil.
Yeah, then you're evil. Like that, just inherent to that. There's like you say, Jedi mind trick. Like, yeah. Do we like the morality of the idea that the good guys are walking around going and making people do things outside of their will? This is 21st century is not particularly cool with things like that. So I think I would go with Flight. That's the one that seemed to be safest, be able to do something cool. That
Did you have a favorite cartoon as a kid?
I mean, you're talking about being a kid. You're spanning about a 10-year period of time of cartoons I watched. Batman the Animated Series would be one that would come to mind. There's periods of time where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Muppet Babies, Garfield, several different things like that. As for things that have had a lingering effect outside of childhood, Batman the Animated Series is one that still watch today. So when my son wants to watch, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, let's watch it. And so things like that I watch pretty frequently. Yeah.
Sorry. Scrolling back up. Did you grow up reading Marvel comic books?
Yeah. Yeah, so my sister and I, we would ride our bikes every Saturday to the local comic show. It's called Sean's Comics. Spelled differently, but Sean's Comics. And it was just kind of like one of those things that we always did. And she read more than I do, and she probably has all my comic books.
She totally does.
And so she's far more avid of a reader of comic books than I am, because she's much more of a reader. That's like all she does. And so, but yeah, I mean, that's like what we did is we went to comic books stores. I read Wizard magazine and things like that. And, kept up with all sorts of things. So like from 1990 to 95 was kind of my key era of comic book type stuff.
Stan Lee or Adam West? It's no context.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be comparing them, and they're not. Say that they're old white dudes would be the point of comparison, but one's an actor and one's a creator. So I don't know if you're supposed to do those two things. But if I had to pick between the two, Stan Lee created such a big impact on things that I love that I'd have to go with him.
Ooh, someone mentioned Animaniacs. That was a good one.
Animaniacs, watch that in a ton of Animaniacs as well. And if I used to, in my previous life, would show my teenagers the Good Idea, Bad Idea all the time. And then our kids loved it. And they're like, let's watch that. I guess like, kids, there's only 10 minutes worth of this that was ever created, so we can't keep rewatching this because you're going to burn it out real fast.
Well, they burned it out for us.
Yeah, they burned it out real fast for us. Let's watch it again. Like, kids, we just watched it 3 times in a row. The next day, can we watch Good Idea, Bad Idea? Please stop.
It was interesting watching it with them, like, versus watching it in real time back in the day.
Yeah.
When you couldn't stream everything. It was like, oh, I love Good Idea, Bad Idea. Watching 30 of them in a row is not as much fun.
So, Good Idea, Bad Idea would, every once a week, they'd play 3 of them. And so every time it would come on, you'd be like, this is awesome, this is hilarious.
Because they'd rotate those different sketches.
They cycle through it. So you would, to watch all of them, you'd have to watch the show every single week for 6 months straight just to see all of these little 3 blurbs. Well, now they're on YouTube all in one little segment that's 5 to 10 minutes long, and you just can watch them all in one sitting, and it definitely loses some of the impact when you do that.
Sorry. I got distracted. What time is it where we are? 9:56.
9:56, yeah. Central Time, Texas.
Alien or Predator?
Like in a fight or...
Movie-wise or looks?
Aliens is my favorite of the movie. Like, if I were to, like, do some sort of ranking of them, Aliens would be my favorite of the bunch. Predator would be my second favorite. Alien would be my third favorite.
Have you ever cried in a movie?
Yeah.
Someone said, what movies have you cried in? I just didn't even know that was a thing.
I don't,
kind of doesn't have a heart.
Yeah, I don't normally cry, and it would have to tie back to something else or some phase of life or some moment.
Did you cry at Logan?
No, I was very hardened in that phase of my life. Very hardened phase of my life back then.
That was like so recent.
That was over a year ago. That early 2017 was like hardened. That was a rough phase of life.
Okay.
Like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, very sad movie.
You cried at Dawn of the Planet?
Mankind died. I went to go see it with my mother, and I thought, what if my mother died from it?
You did not. There's not a chance you thought that. That is not real. Stop lying.
Next question.
Someone wants clarification. Can you tell us more about your job or past jobs? Who are the kids? I don't know.
I was a youth pastor. I worked at a church with the teenagers. I was the youth pastor at a church, so the kids were the youth group at the church. So I preached every week.
We also talk about the kids as our children. So
yeah.
It could be, I don't know which one you're talking
so
about.
So we have 2 kids, third one on the way, and then I did youth ministry like 2003 until 2016, 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years ago and just a couple weeks I stopped doing that. So we do movie nights here. I'd have interns that would be my students and everything, the college students that I'd work with. But yeah, just helping teenagers.
Batman the Animated Series or Justice League Animated Series?
Batman the Animated Series. I just liked it more. I mean, I have the box set for Justice League too, and we watched through that a ton. And the Christmas episode is like one of our rotations for every single December. We watch through that. Some of I really like the first Justice League. It's really 2 series, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I liked Justice League a good bit more because they would do these 2-episode, 3-episode arcs, where it's like kind of like mini movies. And I just thought that was a really good way to do it. I thought that was very clever, especially if you're doing Justice League. The stories are too big to just be like, and this week an alien invasion comes to the Earth, and it's conquered in 20 minutes. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So they did these arcs, and I thought that worked really nicely for the show. So I thought that was very good. But I would definitely go with Batman the Animated Series. I think Batman the Animated Series, the first 3 seasons of it, because there's 4 seasons. There's 3 seasons, and then there was a gap, and then a 4th season, and they changed the animation style, simplified it a little bit more kiddie. Robin is younger in it, Batgirl's in it, and it wasn't as strong. And it was the animation style of Superman, the animated series. the first 3 seasons I think are some of the best cartoons aimed for children ever made. I mean, just what they did. I mean, they had a live orchestra. It was not synthesized music. It's an actual orchestra with musical themes based off of, it's from Tim Burton stuff, but it's enhanced, and just the artwork of it, the design of it, everything about it. It's amazing that show exists. If you just stop and think about, you put this out as a show for children, this is astounding.
Did you have a crush on a Disney princess as a young person?
No.
That didn't sound like something you would do.
Nala.
That's my new favorite thing you've ever done. No, I can't think because I'm laughing too hard. We answered this before. We picked favorite Chris in the MCU, and I can't remember who you picked. Was it
I don't
Hemsworth
know.
or Evans?
I don't know who I picked.
Well, that was funny.
I don't have a strong preference between. I mean, I think we would. Didn't we go Pratt? Like, this is my Chris Pratt shirt, so I think I'd have to go Pratt today.
That's your Chris Pratt shirt?
Yeah, because of Jurassic World. Because he wears like a white shirt, kind of like this one.
So he's copying you because you totally had that before Jurassic World came out.
This shirt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's copying me totally.
Totally copying. I bought that for you forever ago.
It's been a long 2 years though.
What does that mean?
A lot of life in the last 2 years, so it can feel like a long time ago that, I don't know, this shirt's 4 years old.
That shirt's really old because it's a large, and you wouldn't wear it because it's too big.
That's true.
So it's older.
That's a long 2 years where I've gained a lot of weight too.
Let's see. I think you've already fan cast for Fantastic Four. I think you did that.
I did that last time. I don't. It's not something I can pull off on the top of my head. The ones that people have mentioned before would be, I think, John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Michael Chiklis gets to make a return,
yes, agreed.
And Zac Efron. There's who's I think that's who we picked before.
Excellent choice.
But I haven't done like a deep kind of diving into it to try and figure out who I'd want for it. But that's some stuff I've seen.
Did you get into the Star Wars extended universe?
No, not really at all. Some of the games I've enjoyed, but the books I've always found. I've never really gotten into the Star Wars books.
You watched the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars is not really EU though.
Okay, well.
Because
that was an additional question.
Yeah, so I've watched Clone Wars. I watched through it one time, and then I've sprinkle watched other ones. My son really digs it. He calls it the start of the Clone Wars. It was like, no, it's just called the Clone Wars. Yeah, the start of the Clone Wars. It's just called the Clone Wars. Yeah, the start of the Clone Wars. Yeah, it's called Start of the Clone Wars. So I've watched through that, but even like the Heir to the Empire stuff, I haven't cared for what I've read and listened to from that. So I haven't gone too much into it, and some of it just feels too much like it is what it is, which is a bunch of different authors trying to write these characters, but it just hasn't worked for me.
Super chat.
Cool. Thanks.
I think Baby Lock Them Doors Stabber 77.
That's quite the name right there. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Just says congrats for you guys.
Oh, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you all of you for watching this video, for subscribing, liking, commenting, all the different things that have helped the channel grow. Maybe you've shared it on your Facebook, Twitter feed, or anything like that. Told a friend at school. Thank you so much that we're here. 40,000 subs, which is bonkers. The city we live in has 23,000, 24,000 people in it, so we're defeating our city that we live in, and you guys are making that happen. So thank you so much.
What has been your favorite MCU army? Chitauri, Hydra, Ultron bots, Sovereign, or Outriders?
Well, the Sovereign, of course.
The gold people.
That's the gold people. I don't think any of the armies are particularly memorable. Chitauri, that battle's the best of the bunch, I would say. But I feel like I want to say Ultron a little bit more because they have Ultron personality, so it's a little bit interesting. But none of them have been like great to me. They're just, which nameless army of people that are cannon fodder are we beating up today? So Ultron or Chitauri. definitely not the Sovereign.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I just hit a really weird button. Are you excited about Mary Poppins?
No. I think they even put out a trailer. I haven't even seen it. Like I haven't. If there's a trailer, I haven't watched whatever they put out. It's just not. I'm sure we'll take the kids to go see it. Maybe even opening night or something like that. Take the whole family to go see it. That'd be fun to do. Like I'm excited to do that with my family. But for me, as a grown man in my mid-30s, do I want to sit down and watch a Mary Poppins sequel? Would I do that if I didn't have kids that I love? No. No, I would not watch Mary Poppins.
I'm not even really.
Yeah,
I love Emily Blunt, but
Do you love Mary Poppins? Yeah, so
I don't hate it. It's not the one I rewatch though.
Yeah, is it like
especially since the one we saw, the one behind it,
Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah, it's been a lot sadder since
I
watched that. So I
adds a little bit of a different tone to
I haven't
Mary
been
Poppins.
wanting to watch Mary Poppins after Saving Mr. Banks. I liked the backstory, the additional information was interesting, but it didn't make me want to watch Mary Poppins because it made me sad.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones, like, I say all that like I'm not excited. I don't want to rob anyone else's joy. It's not like Mary Poppins sucks, or it's nothing like that.
Right.
It's just, I watch Die Hard in my free time. I watch Steven Seagal grab someone's arm and twist it and snap the bone and the bone protrudes out. I watch comic book movies. I watch sharks eat people. The idea of watching a woman nanny sing on a rooftop with Dick Van Dyke. Like, I just that's something I would do in my free time by myself. And so the idea that, there's a sequel with Emily Blunt, I don't go, oh, wow, I can't wait to see that. No, it'd be fun to watch with my kids.
Who's funny, me or you?
Me. We have very different senses of humor. She's into puns, dad humor type stuff. And, if you guys start writing puns in the comment section, you'll start laughing in the background as you're doing that. And so she's more in that direction. I'm more.
You think I'm funny when I think something is funny.
Yeah, there's things I laugh at. I'm much more of a dry humor, sarcasm, funny storyteller. And so, like, in my kind of public speaking stuff, I tell a lot of stories and things. I don't even do on my channel. It's like this huge part of the way I normally communicate in live settings is even present in the thing where people know me for. Like, I'm kind of my little version of internet famous for this, and it doesn't even have the full flavor of what I do. But and then I can't really be mean to people on here. I'm really good at being mean, and just in funny ways, and I can't do that on here. So,
would you watch Mary Poppins if Yondu was Mary Poppins?
Yeah, I mean, I would make it a lot more. Michael Rooker is blue mohawk. I'm on board.
Put him in charge of small children. Sounds like a great idea.
Well, he was in charge of a small child.
I know.
And it turned out great.
It did not turn out well.
That's true.
As far as villains, Thanos versus the Joker in The Dark Knight.
I'd have to give it more time. I think you have to see where Infinity War Part 2 goes. And I've been watching this one for 10 years. I've been watching the other one
We don't hate Mary Poppins.
3 weeks.
Sorry.
It says people want it. I don't know if they're just joking. If people their takeaway would have just said, "I hate Mary Poppins." That's hopefully they're joking and not their actual interpretation. That's comment sections though. They say, "Yeah, I don't watch Mary Poppins. I'm a grown man." You hate it. No. There's this category where why would I? This is not for me. It's not a thing for me. But I couldn't pick. My natural instinct would probably be Thanos over the Joker, but I need more time. I need more time to say that. And I've never been the person that's been like, Heath Ledger is the Joker's the greatest character in a movie ever. And I wasn't someone that understood why he was getting Oscar nominations and things like that. He's great. He's amazing. I say all sorts of great things about this guy right here. But I've never been the person that's just so overblown. Heath Ledger is the gold standard for villains in movies. I've just never done that. And so I might be inclined to say Thanos, but I don't really want to do that. Puns or Mary Poppins? Yeah, I told you if you put puns in there, she's gonna lose it, and she's losing it. Do you have a question for me?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Dishes.
Dishes who?
Dishes Sean Connery.
Yep, that's about right. Do we have another question?
We do. I'm sorry. That was just too good not to read out loud. That was so funny. Big baboon balloon says, "Can I just say your wife seems so supportive and lovely? Thank you so much."
Yeah, this channel would not be at 40,000 subs. Would not really exist if you weren't so supportive. As soon as I started this, from the beginning, she's always been 100. Like, there's been really nothing that I've gotten to know on that I've aimed to do. And when I first was like, I'm going to start doing videos and make movies, she was totally cool with that. Going into 2017 was like, there's enough traction. I'm going to take this seriously. Like, can I have permission to go to the movies 3 times per week? She told me yes. And I was like, hey, if you want to go to the movies, if you want to go hang out with your friends, you can do that too. Like, we need to balance this out, but like, can I have a lot of time to do this? And she told me yes. And at the time, like, now this is a job, and so it's easy for me to say, nope, I have to go to the movies. I make money doing this. I have to shoot a video. Like, I do that all the time now, but we make a lot of, like, with it, like, not a lot of money, but I mean, we make money doing this. It is a job for me. And so now it makes sense. But when we were making $11 a month, she was giving me the freedom to do that. And then more recently, as it's like, can we build a wall to make an office space? And I want to paint it blue because it'll make my eyes turn nice colors like it does right now. And she was like totally on board. She's always been very supportive. So thank you so much.
So
and
nice.
All of you guys, be sure to thank her as well, because literally this channel would not exist. You would not have heard of me. I hope maybe if you like my channel. She's a huge reason, because she has been supportive in all of this and allowed it to happen. Yes.
Very sweet. Super chat from Rich Reviews.
Thanks.
If I could recommend a show, it is The 100. Each
Okay.
season is different. This season, the main characters meet escaped prisoners from a mining colony. Have we watched any?
No, we haven't. It's one of those ones that I've seen ads and I've been like, looks interesting. Like, I might want to check this out. It just hasn't happened, and because there's so much TV that seems interesting. So it's just one that we haven't checked out yet. So maybe that's one that we will check out next. Thanks for the recommendation.
I'm sorry. I just saw the Sean Connery joke again.
It's a good one.
I have a good Harry Potter one, but I'll wait.
Okay.
Someone says, do a reaction video to the Art, Spear, Entertainment, Superhero, and Villain Toon Bowls. I don't know what that is. Do you?
Yeah, I don't even know what we're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about, so I can't do it for that reason. But depending on what it is, it might feel out of place for me to do it for my channel. But I'm trying to figure out what my channel is about, which seems weird because it's almost 2 years old, and I've got 40,000 subscribers now. But it's morphed over time, and it started out as just, I'm going to put videos out talking about movies, and I guess I'll do some movie reviews. And then at the beginning of 2017, it was basically movie reviews, and then by fall 2017, it was more ranking videos, and then as of recently, it's like comic book. I mean, it's shifted quite a bit, so I'm trying to figure out a lot of what my channel is, but. So I'm not sure what your thing is that you're referring to or laughing about.
I'm not laughing at you. They're just sending me jokes. We've watched The Gifted, right? Is that
the X-Men one? Yeah. So we watched through December. We haven't watched the new stuff. Like, we watch it every single week, and I have reviews up on my channel of a lot of the episodes from the first half of the season. And then I thought the season was over. I don't know if I read that somewhere or something, but I thought it was just a 10-episode season, and then there's going to be a big gap. It wasn't. It was like a 3-week gap, and so we're just behind.
Who's your favorite Robin, and who would you have play them in a movie?
Dick Grayson, I think outside of Dick Grayson, they get kind of weird to me, because Dick Grayson is one that grows up to be, and so it's kind of the definitive one. And then when it's like, then Batman got another 13-year-old boy to beat up grown men with him, it starts getting weird. It stops making a lot of sense. So some of the ones I'm not, and gets one of them killed. And, Joker beats him to death with a crowbar and blows him up. That's not entirely inspiring. Batman's a great guy. So some of the Tim Drake ones and things like that, personality-wise on cartoons and things, they're kind of fun. But I think Dick Grayson is the one that is the definitive. And I've never been a Damian Wayne fan. Who do I want to play him? I think I'd want if you bring it into the current universe, so you got a 50-ish-year-old Batman, and have a grown-up Dick Grayson that's Nightwing. Because I don't want to see anyone play a 13-year-old boy fighting grown men. I don't think that would work in a live-action setting. So you start getting a Dick Grayson that's 25 to 30 years old. So Zac Efron. Zac Efron is the Human Torch, and he's Dick. No,
he is pretty big right now.
And he'd probably be the right size too, because he's muscular. But he's not tall, and so you want someone that doesn't. He's athletic in a different way than 6'4" Ben Affleck. But I definitely don't want Zac Efron. Was it the guy from the one I mentioned? And I did a video. How would I fix the DCEU, or how do I fix the Justice League after Justice League came out? And I had Dick Grayson in it, and he turns into Nightwing. And I went with was it Dacre Montgomery? He was in Stranger Things season 2. He was the guy with the mullet, the mustache that was like hitting on the cougar mom. But then he's also the Red Ranger in Power Rangers, and so he's definitely got the fitness to it that you can. He looks youthful enough, but like masculine enough, muscular enough that you could buy him both as the boy, not fully Boy Wonder, but this guy was the Boy Wonder not too long ago, without it feeling like Batman's getting kids killed. He shouldn't be doing this. This is irresponsible. So he's the one that I mentioned. So there you go. Anyways, my long answer to a short question.
Aladdin or Lion King?
Lion King. And both of those were my childhood.
Man, that was a fast answer.
But I thought about it before. I've done videos on it before. But I think Aladdin's like the fun Disney Renaissance movie that was like, let's have like a fun adventure with the guy on a magic carpet, and he's got a sword, and they got Robin Williams in the mix, and but Lion King's the one that just kind of has more oomph to it.
Dacre Montgomery is that guy?
Yeah, it's pretty close. Whatever I said, I was remembering it pretty close to right.
They said it.
So cool. I'm not a total idiot.
Do you play a musical instrument or sing?
Speaking of Aladdin, back in my previous life where I worked with teenagers in church world, from time to time I would do Disney numbers with people and do duets. So A Whole New World was one of my kind of famous duets. There are videos on the internet of me singing A Whole New World in a duet. I play guitar, and I've done quite a bit of music type stuff and singing things. I'm just good enough that I did it in church world with teenagers and worked in youth ministry, youth band for 15 years or 10 years or something like that. Never good enough to be promoted to adult worship band type stuff. Like just good enough for people not to tell me no. This is kind of where I was at. And it's one of those skills that it's like, all right, I think I'm going to slowly let this fade out of my life because I'm much better at talking than singing. And also not great at guitar because I have so many broken fingers throughout the years that never healed right. So it kind of actually hurts to play guitar now. And I'm old and have arthritis and lost my... You're going to ask another question because I'm rambling.
Oh, okay.
That was a joke. I was hoping you would cut me off as I was saying stupid stuff.
Well, I don't get to listen to you as carefully
you don't
as you
listen to me when I'm talking?
I do, but I'm trying to find
close.
you questions, and so I'm distracted. My attention is split. Do you have a man crush?
Scott Eastwood, of course. Those Eastwood men are just rugged, and so you got to go with the Eastwood men.
Do you think Aquaman's going to be a good movie?
Yeah, I think I'm Team Aquaman right now. Just because James Wan, I want to root for him, and then as he's got a good track record, And a lot of the DCU movies that turned out bad had rocky productions. There was kind of weirdness, rushed delays with Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Justice League. That didn't happen with Wonder Woman, and it didn't happen with Man of Steel. And I like Man of Steel. I don't understand the haters of Man of Steel. Unless you're just, it's too different. Fair enough. But as a movie in general, I think there's a lot to like about it. And so it seems like this one's in the category that has a lot of potential to actually be good. So I'm excited for Aquaman.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Maybe you'll know what this means.
I do know what it means.
Who is your favorite SN?
Oh, I probably shouldn't confidently say SN.
SN.
Who is my favorite?
SN. Send that one to us again, and we'll try next time. Someone's in
Who is my favorite SN? I'm trying to. I don't know. I can't come up with anything.
Okay, I'm going to suggest we stop in 9 minutes. Is that acceptable?
All right, we're gonna stop in 9 minutes. So we gotta watch Westworld. So with our
and I have to do work.
And I have to do work.
Favorite Godzilla movies?
So I didn't really grow up watching the old one, so I don't have any affinity to it. I've seen some of them at some point in time in my life, but I don't have any nostalgia or anything like that for the old one. So I would go with the one from 4 years ago or whatever, with her man crush.
I missed it. What?
Your man crush?
Which one?
Godzilla. We're talking about Godzilla. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Your man crush.
I'm looking.
It's like.
Oh yeah.
Like they're like partnered up.
I always forget about him.
I guess my superhero crush with your superhero crush, and then the next year they're in a movie together as brother and twins. The universe, the way it plays out, is so amazing. But
I always forget his name, but you're totally right.
So that's her. I dug that movie. We're totally down for that one. I never fully understood the criticisms of it. Because there's not a shortage of monster action. There's not as much Godzilla action, and that didn't bother me because there was other action in it. So I dug that one, and then she loves watching it just for all the man meat on screen. And
yeah, you know me.
That's the actor that's in Kick-Ass too, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
because it's too violent.
He's in Avengers.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like him in that. But he's cuter in the Godzilla movie.
So now you understand the way she thinks.
Sure.
She does not. She's not into Scott Eastwood. We have a lot of debates about this.
You're more handsome than him. So I don't know.
With glasses or without?
Both. Hands down. You beat out the Eastwood men.
Yes.
Harrison Ford or Tom Hanks?
Like, who wins in a fight, or
it's literally. Do you have a preference for which actor?
I would easily go Harrison Ford, just because Star Wars, Indiana Jones, The Fugitive, Air Force One. I mean, you just start going through his list of movies. It's just pretty fun. Even stuff Morning Glory, the one that he did, where he's the news broadcaster from 10 years ago with Rachel McAdams. Not a lot of people saw. A great cast, and Jeff Goldblum's even in it. It's a great movie.
I forgot he was in that.
But the number of movies that I just love that Harrison Ford is in is very high. Number of movies I absolutely love that Tom Hanks is in, pretty good. It's a great list. It's not the Harrison Ford list. In the number of favorite movie characters that Harrison Ford has played, way up here. Number from Tom Hanks once again is here. Great filmography, but Harrison Ford is the one that's made a lot more of the types of movies that are my type of thing.
Most underrated superhero and supervillain?
Most underrated?
Mm-hmm.
That's tough to answer as just a broad question, because you're talking about in the movies. Are you talking about underutilized? It's just kind of so broad. I don't have a direction. I'd have to have more I'd have to have more walls on it to be able to say.
Han Solo or Indiana Jones?
Indiana Jones.
Good answer.
Because he's a character designed to stand on his own. Han Solo is designed as a character that's works really well in a group. And I guess we'll find out in a couple days if he stands alone well. But even there, it's an ensemble.
But it's not Harrison Ford.
It's true. But Indiana Jones just as iconic, but designed like he stands on his own with what he was able to do with the three of those movies.
That's a movie we like to watch together.
Yeah, the Indiana Jones 1 and 3.
I don't like 2.
And 2.
I don't like 2.
We love 2.
Do you like Wes Anderson?
In Star Trek 4.
What?
Star Trek 4. We watched Star Trek
yes.
4 together with
Yes,
the whales. Because I was making a joke that's a line from Star Trek 4. I love Italian, and so do you. And then Spock goes, I love Italian. And you didn't say your line. So Star Trek 4 is one we also watch a lot together.
It's been too long.
Well, we need to rewatch it then.
Clearly.
What was the question?
I don't remember. Wes Anderson.
Oh yes, Wes Anderson. I loved Wes Anderson when I was a lonely single person. I watched. My kind of era when I discovered indie movies was 2000. So, I mean, I saw Memento in the theater. Jon Favreau's first movie he directed was a movie called Made. Saw it in the theater. And that's kind of my era when I kind of really got into movies that weren't just big blockbuster type things. Like, oh, wow, you can tell a movie where people don't get blown to pieces and it's actually really good. And that's when Wes Anderson was on the rise. And so the year after all this, shortly after I discovered Memento and things like that, was when Royal Tenenbaums came out. I was like, well, this is incredible. Who's this? Owen Wilson. Wow, I love this. And so, I mean, I watched Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums all the time. That original trilogy of his movies. And his later stuff, not necessarily as much. Hey, Chloe, you want to come on over here?
You okay?
She was supposed to be asleep whenever we started this live stream, so something's afoot.
We took a really long nap today.
Yeah. Someone took a nap from about noon until 5 o'clock.
We were very
6
tired.
o'clock. Chloe, are you coming over here?
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people. Did you want to say hello to them?
Hello.
Next question. This one's for Chloe.
Oh, well, we're going to rank the Chronicles of Narnia series. Someone asked to do that. So we're going to. We just haven't
We're going to watch the Chronicles of Narnia movies with you. Is that exciting?
Oh, she's winking. She's been practicing.
Yeah.
Very good.
We were talking about winking today, this morning on our way to church. And so she's practicing with you guys.
You're good at that.
Remember this, Chloe?
Oh,
remember?
they're saying hello, honey.
Chloe, remember this move?
Hey, what's your favorite movie?
I like Black Panther.
Oh, good answer.
Yeah, good
How
answer.
What about, you like Leap? That was a favorite recently.
Yeah.
Parenting win.
What else? Oh, who's your favorite princess?
Let me think.
You can think.
Got a question for me while she thinks?
Who do you feel didn't get enough screen time in Infinity War?
Everyone except Thanos and Gamora? If I were to go specifically, I mean, I think everyone that was on the Wakanda side of the story got shortchanged because it was more, let's set up action sequences than kind of telling the bigger story. So all of those people, Black Panther, Steve Rogers, Bucky, Black Widow, they all felt like they got shortchanged the most on it. But where I felt the most actual shortchanged that I was like, I wanted to see X and didn't get it would be Steve and Tony. Which I guess that's probably what the next movie's going to heavily be, is Steve and Tony coming back together. But that's the biggest thing where I'd say I felt like, why didn't we get this?
Daddy.
Yes, what's your answer?
My favorite princess is Belle.
Belle? Very good answer. Very, very good answer. All right, if you guys didn't notice, her pajamas, they are Star Wars.
Bing, 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 bing.
Very nice. We are killing this parenting thing.
Yeah, you are doing well today, Chloe.
You want to come sit with me?
Yeah.
All right, if you want to close things out, if you have any final questions, the best way to make sure you definitely get answers is to throw the final couple super chats in there. But we'll go just a few more minutes to close this bad mamba jamba out, since we got to get her to bed, as we have to watch Westworld, and she probably shouldn't watch Westworld.
Totally should not. Would you like a Star Wars spin-off movie with Obi-Wan on Tatooine in between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope?
Kind of what I've always answered to this question. Generally speaking, I don't like the strategy they're using with solo movies to tell stories about characters we already know and recasting them, and how did they get to where they're at. I'm not crazy about that. The one exception I have would be this Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. I don't want marble mouthing. The one exception is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's because you don't need a new recast. We've already did one recast, which was hiring Ewan McGregor. He's now, by the time that this movie would come out, he would be 20 years older than he was in Phantom Menace. And so you can make him look like a 55-year-old Obi-Wan Kenobi 10 years before A New Hope. And so I think that works well. I think and I don't want it to be a $200 million big blockbuster. Make it for under $100 million. So that's not a low budget movie, but it doesn't need to be a big spectacle movie. Kind of like with Logan, for in the realm of comic book movies, a fairly low budget for a comic book movie. So you could do big things, but it wasn't about big spectacle. It's a character study, kind of like a Western on Tatooine. Maybe a Western in the Star Wars universe, which in a lot of ways, that's kind of what Logan was, which is a comic book Western set in the future with mutants.
What are you asking me at? Have you listened to the Yanny or Laurel thing?
Yeah.
Which one did you hear?
Laurel.
The whole time's consistent. It didn't change.
Yeah, I've never heard something there. I mean, I didn't. It's not like I was listening to it multiple days in a row or anything like that.
I heard Yanny at first, and then I heard Laurel.
I listened to it a couple of times. Like, oh, people hear different things if they listen to it enough. And the number of times I listened to it, it never changed for me. But I haven't listened to it like 10,000 times. I
didn't listen to it 10,000 times.
Oh, yes, you did. It's fascinating to me. I actually got into it, not got into it, but I had a little bit of a back and forth on Twitter with Mike Rock Movie Reviews, another YouTube guy, about it, where he's like, this is pointless. And to me, my response to it was like, this stuff is fascinating to me in a way that does tie to movie reviews and talking about movies, because literally we're all listening to the same file and we're hearing two different words. And if you take that concept and it's a simple, it's a 2-second clip, and we don't know if we're hearing different things. Take that concept to all the complexities of a movie, in the way we perceive them, the way we interpret them. We can't agree on a 2-second clip. What's going to happen when you take a 2-hour movie, a 2.5-hour movie? That stuff is fascinating to me, the way that we really do. We assume that we perceive everything the same way. We see the same things, hear the same things. But even on a peripheral, our superficial, our senses level, we hear different things. We see different things. And then factor that through all the experience of life that add interpretation to that. The base level of information we have that comes to interpreting story and different types of things. So I think this little Yanni Laurel thing is a lot more fascinating when you think about what it means for how we watch movies and see different things. Was that a good deep answer?
Fantastic answer.
You weren't listening. That was like the best thing I've said in this entire thing. You weren't even listening.
Well, I'm trying to find you some last questions because we said we were going to wrap it up. No, it wasn't about you. Stop being a weirdo. Okay. Do you like Men in Black?
Yes. That's one of those ones I've been meaning to. Can we watch this with our kids yet? I mean, it's alien gross. It's like bugs splattering on a windshield.
I'm just losing too many battles, so I'm going to put my foot down and say no.
So whenever I rewatch them, I plan to rank them. The first one I think is a 90s classic, and then the other two are more movies. They're not totally embarrassing. They're just kind of like, okay, yeah, those happen. And I thought the third one, I kind of appreciated what they kind of did with it, and kind of was like, That feels pretty heavy-handed in these twists and turns here, and you want to end with like this big that emotional punch, and instead it feels like this. I don't see how this fits.
Do you listen to Christian music?
I listen to worship music from churches, from people that are the worship teams at churches that have made things like Christian radio, and guys that moved to Nashville to be a songwriter and got into the Christian market. I don't listen to a lot of that stuff, but the music that a church wrote for their church that they've released an album, I listen to that stuff.
I think you already... Is Scream your favorite slasher film? Is that slasher?
Yeah, it'd be slasher movies. There's Scream 1.
Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, or Harry Potter?
Which one do I have to pick?
Mm-hmm.
Like Desert Island, or which one's the best?
They didn't say it.
Rank them? I mean, if you're just going to rank them, Hobbit down here, and then it's kind of it's the same thing to me. It's picking things that I can fully respect, all of the qualities, the goods and bads of these things. They've just never emotionally hit me the way they've hit other people. And so they're just not ones that it's even if I were to people might even sometimes they're like, hey, can you review the Lord of the Rings movies? And I thought about like maybe leading up to Fantastic Beasts to review the Harry Potter movies. I just don't think they'd be very good, because I'm not talking about something I have a passion for. I'm talking about something just on let me try and review this as a movie, and I wouldn't have a bunch of big negatives with it. It would just be like, it just doesn't hit me the way it does other people. And so they're both things I respect for what they are. I know other people love them. I don't have big issues with them. So I can't pick.
They want elaboration on what battles I've lost. So I was talking specifically about you getting to show the kids movies.
Yeah,
that I don't think that they're ready for.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about deciding when your kids can watch what things. So over the last week, I've shown Liam Star Trek episodes 1 through 6. And I doubt she would have done that if she was making decisions. If it was just unilateral, she wouldn't make that decision. If it's unilateral for me, it would be a very easy, yeah, let's do this. He can understand it now. And so it's pretty cool. He's got a book with the Lego Star Wars, and he's like been reading through it. And so then when we got to, I actually filmed him when this happened, when we showed him Empire Strikes Back, and he didn't know who Luke's dad was, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. There's a twist at the end of that movie, and it happens, and I'm filming him, and he runs out of the room. And we're like, that was the weirdest response. I would have guessed he would have just watched the movie and been like, okay, that's what she did. He runs out of the room. We're like, I guess that was a bit of a dud response, and maybe we needed to wait longer. He runs in carrying his Star Wars book, and he starts flipping through the pages, and he points to Anakin rotten. Like there's a Lego figure of him where he's all melted and everything, and he points to it and he goes, that's why, this is what happened. He was melted, and that's why. And he got it. Like he was piecing things together from what he'd read in the book. And so he heard that revelation and it clicked for him. And so anyway, there's a little bit of a side shoot. But she wouldn't pick that. A big one we had was I took Liam to see Black Panther in the theater. And that was something it meant something to me to do that. Like I very much wanted to take him to go see Black Panther in the theater. And specifically wanted like that, not just a random one. Like this is a movie specifically I think would be his first big boy movie to see. And she wouldn't have done that if she unilaterally made that decision. So that's what we're talking about.
Because it meant something is why I eventually caved.
But those are the things we're talking about. And it's Star Wars and the MCU.
When someone says you'll let them watch Black Panther but not Men in Black, and that's the hard part with kids.
Yeah,
just trying to figure out what.
Yeah, where's the line?
Where's the line?
And there's things that you can say. Hey, I don't want my kids to see boobs. I don't want them to hear the F word in a movie. But then there's other things we talk about violence. Okay, there's icky stuff in Star Wars. There's icky stuff in Men in Black. and you kind of decide and you go, okay, well, there's cultural importance to seeing Star Wars, and that's like a big thing, and obviously a thing that I love that can be a shared experience for us. Men in Black, it's like, hey, I'll just show them a random movie that I loved 20 years ago. There's not a reason to do that. There's a lot of complexities to the decisions you make, and why it's hard to make hard lines and rules, and I hate rules, so I wouldn't stick by them anyway.
I think let's make this the last question.
This is the last question.
Thank you all for participating. Sorry we couldn't
That's
get
not
to
a question.
Everybody.
Oh, you're just talking right now.
Yeah.
Oh, you're pregnant.
I am.
I
pregnant.
know.
I know.
Everyone, if you did.
That's enough. Thank you. Where do you get and switch out all of your awesome posters?
All right, there's a fun last question. New set, obviously, debuted a week ago. The first version didn't have posters, and so people had some differing responses to it. As soon as I put posters up, people were like, "This is great, fills everything out." And I think it looks so much better on camera than it actually looks in the room. Like, this looks like this big set that kind of takes up a bunch of space, but it's this itty bitty little corner. Like, I'm like cramped into a corner. These posters aren't very high up on the wall. The wall's actually not even painted up at the top. But it looks so much better on camera, which it's just astounding to me that with my little webcam and everything that some of this stuff can look as good as it does. But anyway, so the posters, they're from Hobby Lobby, where almost all of them came from. And so I bought this one right here from Hobby Lobby, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't remember exactly when I got it. But I had a Star Wars one. And so as I had the stuff done, I was like, what do I want to do with the space? Let's see if Hobby Lobby has more. So I go to Hobby Lobby, and they had a sale. And so they were only $10. And I bought 4 Marvel posters, and then I bought 4 DC ones. So you haven't even seen all the ones that I have. So I bought 4 of each. And to have like a set, so I could swap them out a little bit. And then I went online to see if I could find more Star Wars ones. So then I got Empire Strikes Back, as well as my fun Revenge of the Jedi one back there. So I filled those out. So I don't have a full set of Star Wars ones, but I got a Steven Spielberg one to go along with my Star Wars one. So it feels similar. John Williams, Steven Spielberg's buddies with Lucas. So picked that one up on the internet. And while I was searching, then this one came up on the website as well, and it was on sale. So I picked that one up too. So then I could have a full set of 4 different types of things. So that's I bought them, most all of them at Hobby Lobby, and they were only $10. They're on sale when I bought them. And I actually went back and picked up 3 more on Friday. So I've got about 15 of them now. And so some of that's also I can decorate the room and I can cycle them all out and everything like that. But I'm a big fan of these. I plan to see how many more I can figure out. But Hobby Lobby is where they came from. Anyway, my wife left and my dog is shaking his head, and probably should get my wife or daughter to sleep. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to watch. We almost went for 2 hours. Wow. So these things, we always think we're going to go for an hour, and then they end up going for almost 2 hours long. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, supporting us. Hopefully we'll have more fun 40,000 sub stuff coming on this week. Talk to you later.